Alright, we're now ready to start our vacation site project. So the number one thing to do is get organized. So first thing, I want you to create a new folder on your desktop, and of course it always goes your last name, your first name, and then your project name. Now if you want to right away to be organized and get all your points, but most important it's to be organized, you're absolutely going to make a folder inside that called pictures. And then even if you want to, you can make another folder called export it. So all of your pictures, and then the ones that you export, of course, you're going to put into that folder to make yourself nice and organized. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit start. You can't quite see that. Go to all programs, and I'm going to start Dreamweaver now. Now when I start Dreamweaver, one of the first things I need to do is I need to manage my site. And what managing your site does is it ensures that everything is located within your project folder. Now I might have one come up by default. You might have one also, like right now by default coming up was our Halloween one, which we worked on last time. That's not the one I'm going to use. I'm going to do a new site, and here I can go ahead and call it vacation, but most importantly it's locate site folder. So that folder that I just made on the desktop, that is the folder that I need to use as my folder where everything's going to be located. So that's the one I just made on the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and hit select. So when I see the folder name up there, that's the one that I want. I don't want to be in my pictures folder. That's not the one I want. I want to make sure that my root level, so choose your root folder, is your last name and then hyphen vacation. Go ahead and hit select. And go ahead and click save. Now what this does is over here under your files, it shows you everything that's located within that folder. If it's not in that folder, it will not be published on your site. So it's very important that if you don't see it over there, that it's not going to be there. The other thing too, I'm going to tell you, if you need to do any organization of your site, do not do it out here through the computer and move things around. I would suggest that if you have to move things around, like let's say you saved a picture but you've got to put it in the pictures folder, make sure that you move it in this down here. Don't move it out there, because Dreamweaver writes the paths that those pictures are going to, and if you move those paths without letting Dreamweaver know, you're going to have some broken links. So if you do it inside Dreamweaver, then it's going to work a little bit better. Okay, now that you have that created, we're going to go ahead, instead of clicking here and doing HTML, we're going to say new, and then this time we're going to look at some of these nice layout designs. And you know, when you click on the different ones, this is a 2-column, all widths are in percentages with the right sidebar. I'm going to say that I want to have a 2-column liquid left sidebar, so 2 columns all width in percentage with left sidebar header and a footer. I like that one. Okay, if you want a different one, you're more than welcome to pick a different one, but I do want it to be that it can adjust based on the screen size, which is something that we started working on in our Halloween site, but we're definitely going to use it in our vacation site. So once you pick your layout, for the doc type, remember we're doing HTML5, so change that to HTML5, and then it talks about your layout for your CSS. So by default, I think yours is going to be selected to add to the head, which means all the CSS properties are going to be in each individual page. We don't want that. We've learned that best practice is to have one external CSS and then all your pages linked to that external CSS. That way, if you need to make one change on your CSS, you change it in that one location and it changes it on all your different pages throughout your website. So I'm going to say create new file, and then when I click create, now when I click create, it's saying save style sheet file as, and what do you want to call it? Well, I'm going to call it my vacation style sheet. Now notice how I don't really use spaces, so please don't use them. Then I'm going to go ahead and click save, and what happens is Dreamweaver has made this layout for you. And the nice thing, not only have they made the layout for you, but they've given you little instructions on what to do and how this layout affects. So take some time to read through this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief overview here. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because remember how we couldn't always get our pages to work with Internet Explorer? They write the code correctly so that it will contain everything so that it works with Internet Explorer. So, and then they kind of talk about like the zoom property and things like that of, you know, how if it's Internet Explorer, use this. And they put the proper code in there for you, which is really nice. So now that I'm looking at my page, and a lot of times I actually like to work in the split view, and I'll just kind of zoom that back down. But what I have is I have my CSS styles. Now if you don't have that, click on Windows and then make sure that you have it checked where it says CSS styles. Over here in the CSS, when I look at all my styles, it shows me what they all are. So for my vacation site, here's all my different styles. Now this is where it helps, the first few weeks where we did all that coding so that you can kind of understand what these HTML tag means. So I think you all know what the body is. So the body is our very opening and closing, you know, pages. So here's the opening of our body, and then our closing of the body is way down at the end. So these are all these styles that affect the body. Now in the body, what we have so far, and let me kind of do some readjustments. The styles that I have applied to the body, I have a background, I have a color, I have a font, I have margin set to 0 and padding set to 0. That means it'll be nice and tight for the pages. If I needed to add another property, I could go ahead and click it here. But when I click on this background, let's say I change it to red, which of course I would never do because it would be awful. But you can see when I change that, it changes the background of what my page should look like. But maybe I want something more like a nice gray. Now, even though it has all these different styles in here, I want you to go through and change it to make it unique to your page, and that's going to take some time. But I don't want to see any of these ones that have already been established or preset for you in Dreamweaver. So make sure you go through and you change a lot of those. Now, when I go to my unordered list, my unordered list, my ordered list, and my line items, those are all located right here. My headings, this is what I have for my H1, H2, H3, H4. Now, A for an image, I have no borders going around my images. Sometimes Firefox will put an image border around it. So if I don't want a border, they've set that for me for none. I'd suggest you leave that. Now here's my links. So a link, a visited link, when I hover over the link, the active link and the focus link, all of that is located in here. And then we start getting into our container. So our container is the area located within here that is holding my header, my sidebar, and my main content area. So I have my header, my sidebar, and my content area. Now sometimes a nice way to figure out which one is which is if you change the color on one. So if I change that to green, I can make sure that I'm using the correct one. Now of course I absolutely do not want you to use a lime green color, but if I want to make any changes to my header, that's where I can go ahead and I can add them in here. But a really nice feature is if you double click on this, so if I want to make a change or add a CSS to my header, maybe I want to put a background color in, go ahead and click it like that and click apply, and you can see it change. Maybe I want to put a border, so maybe I want to just put a bottom border in, so I want to uncheck the same bottom order. Maybe I want it to be a nice solid line. Don't want it to be the same for all. Color to be, click apply, I'll put a border in. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this to really make your layout look really pretty nice. Now keep going through all of these and discover what area that this works for. If you're not sure, if you click on a certain area, like let's say I click over here where it says link 4, and down here I'm in the body section, but then I'm in a div container, div sidebar, UL for unordered list of my nav, a line item with A. So this will also tell me the different path of how I need to get to where, what exactly code of the CSS that I'm working with. So if you're kind of confused on, geez, what am I changing, what am I not changing, use this as a guide to help you figure out what is which. But you figure out what you want your styles to be, how you want the type font, you know, what type of fonts do you want, the typeset, all those, what do you want the visited link to look like. So this, I'm going to change the background color of this. So if I go ahead and I click on that and then change it to white, you can see how it changes it to white. But take some time, to see how you can manipulate the style sheet. Then once you get done, save this as kind of like a template. Okay, we're not going to actually create a template, but I just want you to just save it as a temp for right now. Then eventually we're going to change it into our index page, and then we'll use this as our basis for creating all our other pages, so we don't have to go through this with every single page. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit save. And once I hit save, I want you to notice a couple things. Over here with your files, you have your temp HTML, which is this page, but then you also have your style sheet that this is linked up to, which is really kind of nice. So take some time, and when I mean some time, I mean a good 20 minutes to a half an hour to really get the layout of how you want your site to look.